A robed priest elevates a wafer of bread, and 1,000 people kneel in synchronized silence. A Muslim prostrates themselves on a prayer rug, one of nearly 2 billion who will perform the same series of gestures 5 times a day. A Hindu family places offerings of flowers and incense before a household shrine, their hands moving in patterns taught to them by their grandparents. A group of Tibetan monks chant a low, resonant mantra, their voices blending into a single, hypnotic wave of sound. Across every culture and throughout all of human history, we see this same powerful pattern, ritual. It is a language of gestures, a choreography of belief. We are taught that these actions, the kneeling, the bowing, the chanting, the offering, are commanded by the divine, a set of instructions for how to properly worship and connect with a higher power. They are presented as sacred duties, the earthly performance of a heavenly truth. But what if the power of ritual has nothing to do with the gods it is aimed at? What if its true power lies not in its ability to influence the heavens, but in its profound and predictable ability to influence the human brain? This video is an investigation into the technology of belief. We will explore the deep psychological and neurological reasons why ritual is one of the most powerful and enduring of all human behaviors, revealing it not as a product of divine command, but as a sophisticated tool. We evolved to manage anxiety, forge community, and make our beliefs feel undeniably real. To understand our deep-seated need for ritual, we must first look to the anxious mind of our ancient ancestors. For early humans, the world was a terrifyingly unpredictable place. A sudden drought could mean starvation, a hidden predator could mean instant death, and an unseen sickness could wipe out a family. This constant high-stakes uncertainty created a state of profound anxiety. The human brain, a pattern-seeking machine, abhors a vacuum of control. When we feel powerless, we instinctively seek out actions that give us a sense of agency, even if that agency is an illusion. This is the evolutionary seed of ritualistic behavior. In the mid-20th century, the psychologist B.F. Skinner famously demonstrated this with his experiments on superstitious pigeons. He placed hungry pigeons in a box that delivered food pellets at random intervals. The birds, trying to make sense of the random rewards, began to repeat whatever behavior they happened to be doing when the food arrived. One would turn counterclockwise, another would thrust its head into a corner, each developing its own unique, pointless ritual in a desperate attempt to control the outcome. Early humans were, in this respect, not so different. A tribe facing a drought might perform a specific dance. If, by sheer coincidence, it rained the next day, that dance would be seared into their collective memory. It would be repeated, refined, and passed down through generations, becoming a sacred rain dance. The ritual's primary function was not to actually produce rain, but to reduce the paralyzing anxiety of the community by providing them with a structured, cooperative action to perform in the face of chaos. It was, and still is, a powerful cognitive tool for managing fear. While the psychological origins of ritual lie in anxiety and control, its enduring power is cemented by its direct impact on our neurochemistry. Performing a ritual is not just a mental act, it is a full-body experience that can measurably alter the way our brain functions. The intense focus required, the repetitive motions, and the sensory overload of incense, bells, and dramatic lighting all work together to create a unique neurological state. Neuroscientists have observed that during intense ritualistic practice, activity in the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for executive function, planning, and critical analysis, is often suppressed. At the same time, activity in the limbic system, the ancient part of our brain that governs emotion, memory, and tribal belonging, is heightened. In essence, the part of your brain that asks critical questions is quieted, while the part that feels deep emotion is amplified. Furthermore, the rhythmic and repetitive nature of chanting, singing, or dancing can induce mild, trance-like states. These activities synchronize brainwaves among participants and trigger the release of powerful neurochemicals like dopamine, which creates feelings of pleasure and reward, and endorphins, which produce feelings of bliss and euphoria. The ritual, therefore, becomes its own reward system. It makes you feel good. The believer doesn't just think their belief is true. The ritual makes their body and their brain experience a powerful, euphoric state that they then associate with the truth of the doctrine. The ceremony isn't just an expression of faith, it is the very mechanism that generates the feeling of faith itself. Beyond the individual brain, the most crucial function of ritual is social. It is the single most effective technology humanity has ever developed for binding individuals into a cohesive, cooperative group. The sociologist Emil Durkheim called this phenomenon collective effervescence, the powerful feeling of unity and shared identity that emerges when a group performs a synchronized action together. When a congregation sings a hymn, when a crowd chants in unison, or when soldiers march in perfect step, something profound happens. The boundaries of the individual self begin to blur. A sense of I is replaced by an overwhelming feeling of we. This shared embodied experience creates a powerful social glue, forging emotional bonds between participants that are far stronger than mere shared intellectual agreement. A ritual is a language that everyone in the group understands on a physical level. It says, "We are one. We move together. We breathe together. We belong together." This explains why leaving a high-demand religion can be so traumatic. An individual is not just abandoning a set of ideas they no longer find convincing. They are severing a web of deep, richly forged social bonds. They are exiling themselves from the tribe, and for a social primate like a human, there is no greater fear. The power of a church, a synagogue, or a mosque lies not just in its holy book, but in the shared, weekly performance of its rituals that constantly reinforces the identity and cohesion of the group. This leads to a more profound understanding of how beliefs are maintained. Philosophers often speak of embodied cognition, the idea that our thoughts and concepts are not abstract things floating in our minds, but are deeply interconnected with our physical bodies and actions. Ritual is perhaps the ultimate expression of this. It doesn't just symbolize a belief, it makes the belief physically real and reinforces it through muscle memory. A believer does not just intellectually assent to the idea of being subordinate to God. They physically perform that subordination by kneeling, their body teaching their mind the concept of reverence. A person doesn't just think about purification, they engage in the physical act of ritual washing. For a Catholic, the Eucharist is not merely a symbol of Jesus' sacrifice. The physical act of eating the wafer is a participation in that sacred reality. This process transforms abstract and often paradoxical theological doctrines, like sin, grace, redemption, or transcendence, into tangible, repeatable, physical experiences. It is far easier to question a proposition you read in a book than it is to question an emotional truth your body has physically performed thousands of times. Rituals bypass the skeptical filters of our analytical mind and embed belief directly into our emotional and physical sense of self, making those beliefs feel unshakable and self-evident. However, this powerful technology of social cohesion has a dark and divisive side. For every we that a ritual creates, it simultaneously creates a them. The very same mechanisms that bind an in-group together so effectively also serve to powerfully delineate and exclude the out-group. Rituals become gatekeeping mechanisms. Knowing the correct words to say, the right gestures to make, and the proper way to dress becomes a test of belonging. The refusal to participate, or performing the ritual incorrectly is a profound act of rebellion that immediately marks someone as an outsider, a heathen, a heretic, or an apostate. This gives immense power to the religious authorities, the priests, shamans, and imams, who position themselves as the masters of the ceremony, the ones who know the correct way to perform the rites that please the gods. This hierarchy can then be used to enforce social norms and control behavior. Rituals of purification can be used to create and manage shame around natural human functions like sexuality or menstruation. Rituals of confession can become tools for surveillance and psychological control. Public rituals of shaming or excommunication, from the stocks of Puritan New England to the disfellowshipping of modern Jehovah's Witnesses, are powerful deterrents against dissent. In this way, ritual becomes the mechanism by which social power is maintained, hierarchies are enforced, and those who question the established order are identified and punished. Ultimately, our investigation reveals that ritual is not a frivolous or primitive behavior that modern, rational humans have outgrown. It is a deeply rooted, psychologically sophisticated human technology, and its secular forms are all around us. The solemnity of a courtroom, with its black robes, elevated judge's bench, and formal language, is a ritual designed to reinforce respect for the law. The singing of a national anthem at a sporting event, with thousands of people standing, hands on hearts, is a ritual of collective identity. The pomp and circumstance of a university graduation, with its medieval robes, symbolic hats, and procession, is a ritual that marks a rite of passage. Even our small, personal daily routines, the way we make our coffee, the route we take to work, are rituals that provide comfort and a sense of order in our lives. While religious rituals may be aimed at supernatural agents, the underlying psychological and neurological machinery is identical. They are tools we use to manage anxiety, create feelings of transcendence, forge powerful social bonds, and make our most cherished beliefs feel real. Understanding the science behind ritual does not necessarily diminish its power. Rather, it reveals the profound and enduring human need for pattern, for community, and for shared ceremony to make sense of our world and our place within it.